Greetings, as I, Tentis Naraman Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor, here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome once more. Of course, hey everybody over on YouTube joining me. Thank you for joining us, of course, and of course you can always see Twitch is here joining me live if you ever want to join us live too. So say hi, Twitch. You can always, of course, support the channel in various ways. Check us out on YouTube, on Twitch, and do the supports over there, or here on YouTube, liking, ringing the bell, subscribing. And a question today, have you played or played in a game with an automaton? Because that's what we're going to talk about today, automatons. And yes, automatons are an ancestry you can play, a rare ancestry. But there's more to it, because there aren't just the ancestry I can play automatons. We're going to go over the entire group of automatons, INS collective, and, you know, we'll sort of differentiate between the ones you can play and the ones you can't play. I'm not really... They're part of the same group, technically, and same origins, also technically. There's just versions of automatons that you really couldn't play. We'll talk about those. But let's dive in, though, of course. And books are a great place to start talking about these things, because you can do your own further research if you want at some point in the future. I always recommend this, diving into places where you can kind of get more details if you want to, and also statistics for playing them, because I'm not going to go over that today. Construct Handbook from players from the first edition is a good place to start, and then we get into second edition, where we have Guns and Gears, and those are the two books that you really want to focus on. Guns and Gears gives you the second edition playing it. So yeah, let's look at what automatons are, because they're intelligent constructs. They're powered by minor artifacts known as automaton cores, which each contain a person's spark of consciousness. So basically, they're a copy of a person, and they're merged with planar quintessence. I've talked only a few times in previous Ancestry things about what quintessence is. Quintessence is soul stuff in the Golarion world. So if I talk about planar quintessence, it means it's the aspect of stuff that makes up a soul. So merging in this core, soul material and like a spark of their consciousness creates a copy of a soul, I would say, because it's not like you're taking the normal soul and putting it in there. You're kind of almost a copy of them, because an automaton does retain the personality and capabilities of life with a construct's durability and longevity. So it is like you're both technically dead and cloned. It's a weird thing, you know, about the entire thing. So automatons originated from the last days of the Lost Justica Imperium, and the ability to create them has been lost to time. Alright, that's kind of, we understand what automaton is now. What do they look like? Well, I've got a picture of one here. Their bodies are made of magically treated stone and metals. They're hardy, agile, shapes depend on role. Your most common ones are the humanoid ones, and the humanoid ones are the ones you're most likely going to play. They usually have one eye, which glows with a dim magical light. And, again, their bodies are pretty heavy, but that magic is what keeps them from moving very good. And some resemble animals. Some each have their own build, depending on how important they were as individuals. I'll talk about it. Basically, who you were in the society that created these and imprinted you onto them might make a difference in the form you take too. These automaton cores are, of course, very important to them. It's housed in the body. It is the place where the life and planar energy combines with the copy of you that makes you you in this form. So that's also a question. I'm not sure if, like, you would have died and your soul would have passed on, so there's two of you in the afterlife when you die. It's a weird philosophical entire thing, which I don't think they necessarily answer as well. So you're something that doesn't need to breathe, eat, sleep. They do actually need to vent magical exhaust at a constant rate, though. The ventilation does require breathable air to build prevent the buildup of exhaust to clout the systems inside, which can be fatal. So they do kind of breathe the same way, and they can suffocate like a living creature. They don't need to sleep. but they do require a magical recalibration and restoration to stabilize their core. It's basically like a downtime that's not quite sleep. It's not the same as sleep, but, you know, it basically helps the automation core for powering the autotom if they don't, insufficient state they go into. Effectively, again, it's like an exhaustion. It's not quite the same. It's not, they don't necessarily need to breathe, but they kind of do. They don't necessarily need to sleep, but they kind of do. They don't age, of course. And the core, being a magical artifact, gives a set the seemingly endless a power source. So your average automaton today would be thousands of years old. Their body is as efficient as they were created. Minds may have deteriorated with the strain of the ages. Most automatons that are lost meet violent ends. The body is just as vulnerable to destruction as any other construct. Destroying the core is difficult. Minor artifacts are difficult to destroy. So you might say, oh, the core is the weak point. No. Your body might be destroyed and your soul might... what the version of the soul you have might remain trapped in the core for years after destruction of the body. So this actually was an intent on the original creators to have functional immortality. In reality, though, destruction of the body often leads to malfunction, requiring magical intervention such as resurrection magic to restore the automation completely. In case of the core's destruction, or if it malfunctions catastrophically enough to no longer hold the soul, the core releases the spirit to the River of Souls. Again, is this the original soul, or is it a copy of the soul? I think there's a question that I don't know if they actually answer at this point in time, but I'm curious about it. So, yeah. There are automations that consciously or subconsciously influence its core. Some eventually learn how to release their souls from their cores, allowing it to move on if they feel that they've achieved a satisfying life. The automaton becomes a mindless construct, typically still active, but no longer capable of anything, an aimless monster and self-defense. So, yeah. Let's switch pictures. Boo, boo. That one there. Another automaton with its one eye. So, as an automaton, you probably had a previous life of some kind that your memories are an impression of, a copy of, the existence of you. Again, it's not defined enough to really know about that. But certainly speaking, an automaton would gravitate towards classes or roles in society that they used to be. You know, sometimes they don't remember much about their old life other than some conscious flashes. It depends on how successful you were. You have your personality, your capabilities, but how much of your memories existed, that's a question. You know, if you're a warrior automaton, you might be a fighter, ranger, rogue. Spellcasting classes can be plenty of them too. For mage automatons, it can vary. So, yeah. Again, I think the important part about automatons to really kind of consider here is the core, and that is it's a physical soul in their body. And that's an important part of the entire thing. And you have to respect that it is an important part of them. And more so than any other part of their body, it is them. And the bodies are the original bodies were crafted for the recipient. That's an important part of automatons too. If I am this form, it was crafted for me because it's my form. Whether or not, how I was involved in that, I probably was involved with that. The creation of automatons was by choice. So it's sort of like you as you before you would have chosen it. You know, it's a difficult thing. And again, it's not to say because it isn't a major artifact, it's a minor artifact, you couldn't destroy the core with other things. It's just, it is difficult. Minor artifacts are still very difficult to destroy. So keep that in mind. All right. Let's talk about their history, though, because we have to look at some Jiska automatons here. because it was near the end of the Jiska Imperium. A group of artificers, mages, scholars, and soldiers founded a group known as the Artificer Conclave. Their purpose of saving the failing empire and return it to its former glory. Their technological developments resulted in automatons. Construct bodies that could contain their minds and life energy, which will allow them to serve Jiska after their deaths of their mortal bodies. Most Conclave members wasted no time in entering into these beings. She just did it. Now, the automatons were capable of planar travel. So many of them left Jista to search the plains for help against the hostile ascended kingdom of Osirian. Osirian, who I've had an episode about, you can go check it out in the past. I didn't talk about ancient Osirian, the Empire in particular, but I talked about the kingdom of Osirian, so you'll hint at it a little bit there. I'll probably do an ancient Osirian video at some point in time. You know, they wanted to travel. And many of those that travel became distracted by, you know, I'm in an ageless body, the planes have infinite potential. So, by the time many of them came back, it had been like a casual century. Ooh, I like that's a cool idea. The summoner with construct eidolons that they and their eidolons are made from the same pool of quintessence. That's really a cool idea. That you're sharing your quintessence with construct eidolons. Oh, to like there's like portions of your soul, kind of. That's a really cool idea. That's a cool idea. Oh man, that was a really good one there. Cool idea for an automaton. The idea of it there. So they returned. Plenty of them. Just goes beyond saving. Those that had returned then just went to the plains and left Jiska to its fate. Some stayed behind and led anti-Osirian resistance forces and were destroyed eventually, or scattered. Some shepherded Jiskan survivors to hidden sanctuaries, where they either died or renounced their citizenship, and the Artificer Conclave dissolved. Welcome, hi. We're talking about automatons, for those of you joining live. So, when we talk about automatons now, yes, there's some still in Golarion, yes, still some that can be certainly player characters, but if we're looking at them as a whole of their basic group, most move to Access. Hey, turns out, you know, the place of Aeon's inevitables and material things like that is a great place. Universal law and roboticism, great place to go visit and live. Still some roam the plains, seek knowledges. Others seek a way to end their cruel existence as lost survivors of a forgotten empire. Remember, I've said only some of them can learn to manipulate their own core, their own soul, to end their life if they feel like it. Most don't have that option. So you're stuck in an immortal body. And, like, they don't necessarily, like, know a great way to end themselves. They're not like, I can stab myself, I die. And there are some that still remain on Golarion. And some of those still wish to restore the Jiska Imperium. That's a dream that's, you know, millennia past, but hey, you know. Their secrets have been lost. There is a high-ranking member of the Artificer Conclave named Aquinira, who is trying to recreate the process and has created a few promising prototypes. Ulistul is conducting the same research in the deserts of northern Garund. Most of her creations are imperfect. The core is only managing to partially capture a mortal's mind. And in recent years, that's a pretty cool one too. Pretty cool ideas there. In recent years, there have been some automaton immigrants. With the helps of them, Athonian mage crafters have managed to recreate automatons with their knowledge, magical properties, and ancient technology. They're nearing the success of the Artificer Conclave. So there is a group that's getting surprisingly close to coming back with, well, automation cores, automaton cores. They're not there yet. So, now, we talk about automatons, we do want to talk about their society. And I'm going to talk about their types too. For alternate types, those are stalkers that we're dealing with, that they're showing off there. Actually, let's do the bigger picture here. Boop, boop, slightly bigger picture. And generally, automatons are solitary nowadays. They were designed to work together in team and travel, but unfortunately it's become rare, more and more. To find an automaton settlement is even rarer, and usually that's in, like, Jessica ruins, secretive places where, for reasons, they're working together. Even if you would be able to contact them or visit them, it's even more difficult because these automatons who, for whatever reason, are together, working together, and have settled someplace, really want to protect their homes. Hey, you know, their entire empire was destroyed millennia ago, and, you know, their people really don't have a way of creating more of them. So, yeah. Most of them, they lose their memories, their self-of-self, their lucridity. Only the most strongest will keep bits of what they were, because the human psyche itself was not meant to live more than a century. You know, it's the thing that they haven't done anything to fix issues with the psyche of humanity when changing it to that thing. You know, a lot of longer-lived beings have it built into their natural biology and the way their brains work and their bodies work to help overcome longer existences. Because of that, humans don't have that in place here. And certainly millennia are far beyond anything that they could expect to live, too. There are those that forget their pasts. Others have nervous tics. Others forget their identities and become quasi-mindless constructs with fleeting moments of their existence. Yeah. The Abomination Vaults was an interesting one to do it in, too. Have I done that one? That's pretty cool for Kinesis, though. For Kineticist. They are intelligent constructs. So they do tend to stand out everywhere in Golarion. That's an important part about them. Being intelligent. Engaging with them is easy once you overcome the shock that you're finding in a construct that's intelligence. And they usually find it easier to live normal lives in large cities, actually. Because large cities usually are melting pots of a lot of various groups and places that, you know, oh, hey, you know, that's Jim, who's this rare creature down the lane. Probably not the name of Jim, but I'm just saying, you know, like, the automaton doesn't stand out as more. But they still have to be wary of people that would want to steal their bodies or their cores. If automatons worship a religion at all, it's usually gods of technology like Brigand, Nethys, or the Monitor demigods, followed by Rory and Pharasma. Pharasma automatons are the ones that tend to learn how to choose and release their souls. There are those that also like Calisandre, because they recognize there's a kindred spirit, even though they're much older than Calisandre. That's an interesting one, too. Now, types of automatons, beyond your standard humanoid, there's champion, familiar, master, sharpshooter, stalker. Stalker automatons are the ones I'm showing over here with their, you know, being cat creatures, the feline frames. They are assassins and scouts among automatons. Their core can use illusion and transmutation magic to transform its coloration and textures to help it hide. This is definitely when you're not going to be playing. They hunt alone, sometimes in packs. You know, they have their jobs. Few stalkers remain on the material plane, though. Particularly around Jiska ruins and pursue automaton cores. Things worthy of their hunt. The master automatons, well, the highest ranking members of the Artificer Conclave, including the Automaton Council, is who got master automaton bodies. They're customized in accordance to the needs of the masters. They have a few abilities: reconstructing their bodies from their automaton core, detecting, destroying, and consuming other cores to empower themselves. And that's thanks to their ability to have arcane resonance, matching those found in automaton cores. So, their ability was designed to keep rogue automatons in check, but it also benefits the masters, so Yeah, master automatons, considering more and more automatons as deserving of destructions, benefit from power, led to an arm race against the masters. So it led to new automaton cores, which were destroyed intentionally by some masters to starve off their rivals, ended the Artificer Conclave. Effectively, master automatons were the downfall of the Conclave. I would say, yeah, master automatons are what vampires are to humans, almost in a way. If you want to understand, they're from the Construct Handbook, is where they were last talked about, so we don't have their update to 2nd edition stats. They were CR 20 in 1st edition, so keep that in mind. They were monsters. Most master automatons are hiding in the Great Beyond. A few are on Golarion, hunting powerful automatons or large collection of cores, others seeking knowledge. And Aquiria, who's hoping to restore the secrets of automaton cores, is a master automaton. I mentioned her as I was going through here. So there are some that still, are on Golarion, but very few of them, as there was a limited amount of them that were created in the first place. But they are not necessarily going to be friendly. Master automatons are an entirely different thing. They aren't your PCs. Yeah, they're, as we said, they're kind of like vampires are to humans, in a way. Or maybe even like a better description would be like a high-ranking demon to something like a lemur. Was that devil? An imp to a God damn it. My demons and devils get mixed up in my brain so often. Regardless, they're technically the same type, but not the same type also. It's kind of interesting. But there you go. That's automatons. They're an interesting group because, honestly speaking, at this point in time, they're a limited pool. In the future, there might be a possibility of more of them coming into existence. Recreations of the automaton cores isn't outside the realm of possibility. There are a number of basically master automatons working on it. There is a group that, with the help of some automatons, is studying it, and they have magical technology that might reach the levels of this group within the Jiska Imperium to take care of it. There are so many questions on more of them can exist. And certainly, yeah, the idea you don't have your memory, you're unlocking some hints of it, or maybe, you lost all your memories and you're something new. You're discovering yourself again because you're so old, because you're wandering around in maybe a haze, and maybe something has wakened you from that haze, and you're a new person, that maybe you're recreating what you were in the past, Oh, I'm a wizard now. I was a wizard before. I didn't remember it. I'm re-remembering my memories as I level up. There's cool ideas for playing an automaton, certainly. And it's this kind of immortality combined with the fact that, yeah, most of them probably aren't mentally 100% sound, unfortunately. They've dealt with a lot of stuff, and their minds have been stretched and strained, and you only hope that they've kind of rebuilt themselves to a degree. Making them tragic characters in a way, even if you don't play them tragically. There is this hint of a tragedy to their backstory. You were created in an ancient empire that has been dead for millennia. For so long. And there is no hint of it left. There are societies that exist where it was. Northern Grin survives, but do they remember you as your group? Hard to say. There are probably aspects of the Jiska Imperium that still remain. Little core chunks of it. But is that enough to remember that old life? That's up to you when you're playing one. Or you as a GM as you're displaying them. Automatons are interesting, fun constructs, but also have that certain air of tragedy about them you're not going to get away from. That makes them a little bit more emotional to feel about. That'll be it for this little recording and episode, so I hope you enjoyed joining. If you want to see more tabletop stuff, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays for a backup day. If you want to go join me live, I also have Crimson Queen, a live play Pathfinder First Edition, every Wednesdays at 9 p.m. EST. Check that out. Discussing Tabletop, my tabletop discussion show on Saturdays. Social media link below, Discord, Twitter.com, all those kind of things. So, I'm going to say, I've given my shout-outs, I've said all the things I need to say. I hope you enjoyed learning about automatons. Next time I talk about another ancestry or something else in Golarion, I hope you join me. But until that next time, I bid you a deep and wonderful farewell.